Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. So today we're doing Zoo by James Patterson. I almost forgot. Zoo. Okay, so as just to give context, this is one of the two group reads for Garb August 4 or Garb August 2025. If you're watching this in the future, it's a reading event created by Criminali that I'm co-hosting with many other booktubers about reading trash. So every August, join us to read trashy books and watch trashy movies, the whole shebang. So Zoo was one of the two group reads along with Rivals by Jelly Cooper, just to give you the TLDR. And I'm going to review it for you because I read it and it was not as bad as I expected. Just to recap, Zoo is a dystopian novel about it says animals, but it's really mammals. And the book kind of struggles to tell the difference, but whatever. It's about animals that spontaneously start attacking humans all over the world. And so we follow the main character, Oz, or Jackson Oz, and he is a school dropout. He went for a science degree. I forget specifically what it was. He drops out and then he starts this blog, like, I don't know, not a YouTube channel, but it's probably would have been that if it were written in 2020 or something. But he starts this blog about his theory that animals are starting to act weird around humans. And lo and behold, 10 years later, it happens. And so even though there are many qualified scientists with credentials in the field and, whatever, he somehow is the expert because he wrote a book. Sounds actually closer to truth than you would care to admit. But whatever. So usually when I do a review, I do a spoiler-free section and then I go into my spoilery thoughts. But this book, I don't think anything can be spoiled, except perhaps what they find out is making the animals attack humans. But even that, I don't think is too much of a spoiler. I guess I'll try to give a spoiler-free review. What I thought was really funny in the book is that there are so it's in the first person of Oz experiencing the event, right? And then there are various chapters that are in the third person to kind of give another character's perspective, Attila, his monkey, and it's very disorganized. And then there are chapters that are the literary equivalent of almost like a cutaway scene in a movie or like a movie montage. So imagine if you're watching, I don't know have you seen Pandemic or Outbreak or those kind of movies where they find out that there's a virus that's attacking the world and whatever. And then there are B-roll footage or cutaway scenes of people like blowing their nose and then dying. That's the equivalent. So it makes for I don't know if it was weird or not. It was a little bit, the cutaway scene chapters were not out of place, I think. However, I do think that the shift between the first person and third person was a bit too random and it didn't really work, in my opinion. The chapters are very, very short, which as a slow reader, so I partly appreciated it because when there are more chapters, I think there are more stopping points, so it's easier to read at any time. Typically, I find myself not wanting to read a longer chapter if I don't know that I have the time to finish the chapter, if that makes sense. These chapters are anywhere between 2 to 5 pages long. I mean, they're really, really short. So yeah, I will say it was a nice read overall. It's pretty trashy. You're not really missing out on much if you don't read it. Before I get into the spoilery section, I'm just gonna give it up to the voiceover and read some quotes that I pictured while I was reading the book. It's on my phone and I'm filming with my phone, so I'll just insert a voiceover, okay? Is there anything better than guns unloading, he thinks? What else can make your eyes water and your dick get hard at the same time? Good holy shit, that was close. This animal rising up against man bullshit is bullshit after all. I was crossing to the other side of 42nd to catch another cab, glancing at my watch and trying to calculate how late to the meeting I would be when another dog almost ran between my legs and the crosswalk. I wheeled around and watched as a white Yorkshire Terrier made the corner and trotted west along to the south side of 42nd. Little dude was on a mission. Oz, follow that Yorkie. But why all of a sudden? Chloe said. What's changing the way they perceive pheromones? I don't know, but I do know that we need to get some pheromone experts and put them in a room yesterday. More like 5 years ago. I'll call the lab. You call the government guy, Leahy. I think we finally caught a break on this thing. I didn't know what time it was when I woke up in the dark in the sound of what sounded like the world ending. The first step, I said, would be removing the factors that are causing the environmental disturbance. Remove petroleum products, said the president. And cell phones, said the Secretary of State. I nodded at both of them, then looked out at the faces around the table and on the screens. Desperate times, ladies and gentlemen, I said. Here's what I think we should do. Just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the quotes. So yes, the way they found the virus, or that it was not a virus, specifically that it's pheromones, I mean, this tells you the amount of scientific prowess that this book is giving. This whole idea that Jackson Oz magically finds a pack of dogs humping, and then he's like, oh yeah, it's pheromones, not a virus. And then he tells the president or all the presidents on the planet or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then this one guy is like, it's not pheromones. Why is it not affecting humans? And then he's like, no, there's an explanation. Plastic, cell phones. And then the other scientists are like, oh yeah. And then everyone's like, okay, yeah, you're right. And then it's magically the solution. That is totally how science happens. Gotta love a good old trashy book, right? So the other thing is, I think Attila's character was underserved. I think Attila could have been, it could have shown a little bit of Oz's hypocrisy between advocating for animal rights and then admittedly saving a monkey from, a testing facility, which would be in line with his values, but then keeping it in a cage for so long and not actually seeking out help for his monkey, I think is kind of like a personality trait that could have been observed a little bit more or shown a little bit more. I typically don't mind when books are more plot driven and not character driven. There is zero character building in this book, by the way. But I don't know, it feels like there should, even if you're not going to build on the character, sorry about the lighting, it's, the morning, whatever. Even if you don't build on the character, I think the characters should have some depth to them. No character had any depth to them. And even, what's her name? The girl, I finished reading this book yesterday and I already forgot the girl's name. What's her name? The French girl. Damn it. Whatever. The French girl he marries. I'm sure I'll remember it before the end of the video. She is somehow like this woman who has way more credentials than him, and she helps him sort of get started with his whole theory and getting it to the public. And after that, she's just some home, like a housewife type thing. It's alluded to the fact that she's working on the side, but is she? It's so... Well, I was going to say it's annoying and whatever, but would I expect anything more from this type of book? I guess we should, but do we? Whatever. But this whole idea that there are two women in the whole book, and one of them is the president, who all she does, frankly, is be like, I used to be rational, but now that my daughter is pissed, I'm just gonna get the military to bomb everyone, because if everyone's dead, then the problem is gone, but, whatever. And then the other woman is like, yes, I'm some super qualified scientist from France who's on a scientific mission who gets saved by a totally hot guy, and now I have his kid, and I live in New York City, and, like, I guess I work on the side or whatever. I don't. Anyway. What's her name? That is very annoying. I promise I'm smart. And then our first introduction to her is the fact that she's petite and beautiful or whatever. And yeah, whatever. Not a big deal, but kind of a big deal, but whatever. My final thought is I don't necessarily regret reading this book, but I wouldn't. Well, I guess I could recommend it based on the fact that it was a very easy read. I'm usually I want to say extremely slow reader, but fairly slow reader, and this is 500 pages. Did not see them fly. So in that regard, I guess it was a good book. It was entertaining. It was, I guess you kind of get your head out of reality, which was the whole point of reading a trashy book. So in that regards, it's a good book, but the quality of the story is just level 0. Like I said, I think the book can't even tell the difference between an animal and a mammal, because it starts out with animals are taking over everywhere. And even the title of the problem, like the whole HAC or the human animal, and I forget what the C stands for, but then they say, oh no, it's only mammals, because I guess that was more convenient for the plot or something, whatever. But yeah, it's a bit of a problem when even the book you're reading doesn't know what it's about. But, overall, if you really have nothing else to read and you really want something very easy, I guess you can pick this up. If I'm not mistaken, this was made into a Netflix series with Zac Efron. I know he was in a series called Zoo. I just can't see for sure it's based off of this, although I'm pretty sure it was. I think the series is slightly different from the book. For example, Oz's co-worker, who dies at the very beginning, is in the show for much longer. Am I remembering this correctly? Because I watched it in 2020. Like, I can't really remember it. It was so good, I can't remember it. But, yeah, and it's actually not Zac Efron's worst performance. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know if you read the book. Are you reading it for Garb August? If you've read it outside of Garb August. There is a Zoo 2, which I will not be reading. But MJ from Reading This Life, I think, read it. I don't know if she's going to do a review or whatever, but I don't know. Ask her about it. See what happens. All right. I hope you enjoyed the video. Yeah, let me know your thoughts below. Let me know what you read for Garb August, what you're reading right now, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.